Hi everyone, welcome. We're sorry we're starting a little bit late here. I'm really excited to be here. This is Meet the Pros. I'm Katie and I work here at Ecamm. I'm here in the Ecamm network headquarters, coming to you live, and I'm really excited for today's guest. I'm excited that I get to interview her because she's one of my favorites to watch. Please welcome Luria to the program.
Oh, you really know how to do an intro. Now I'm just all like teary-eyed.
So I should give a little bit of background on you, and then I'll let you pick it up and take it from there. So I'm sure you'll be able to introduce yourself better than I can. But for those of you who don't yet know Luria, she is a live video strategist. She's created over 5,000 videos, so she's much, much more experienced than I am at the moment. On my way.
You're fantastic.
Her first video was created back in December 2005, and she just has not looked back since. You can find her at livestreamingpros.com. She's got a great series that she just kicked off all about Ecamm Live. So if you want to go over and hear Luria talk about all of the ways that you can use Ecamm Live, we'll make sure that we post a link to that in the description or in the comments below when we're done. But definitely shoot over and give it a listen. Check it out. All right, so let's jump into it. I have a whole bunch of questions, and I'm sure that people will be asking questions as we continue. So I just gave a little bit about you, but a little bit more about you and your experiences with video and live video. How did you get started?
I dove headfirst in. So in 2005, I'm one of those people that's just like all in or all out. So
I love
that's just me. So in 2005, I started doing video, and I was one of the first video podcasters.
That's so cool.
Then shortly after, I got an opportunity to co-host a TV show with one of my big mentors and people I looked up to. And his name was Leo Laporte, and he did a tech show, and I was doing tech shows reviews at that point.
Sure.
And I was like, okay, yes, because you don't say no, right?
Yeah.
In my opinion, you don't say no to opportunities.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what I was doing, so I wound up on from zero camera experience, really. This was actually 2006 when this happened, but so less than a year in, I wound up with this opportunity to be on a TV set, do live video, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Holy cow, right? So I dove headfirst in, and then when I was done with that, I felt so uncomfortable in that environment that I was like, I need to figure this out, because I don't like to do anything without knowing that I can be good at it or better at it. And so I just started doing live weekly shows. I had a TriCaster at that time, which was like high-end expensive equipment for live video, which is all that existed back then. When the first video or live app came for the phone, it was only available for the Nokia N95 at that time. And so one phone in the world that could do it, or the US that could do it. Yeah. And it was short-lived. This was way before Facebook Live or Instagram or anything like that. Or I started doing it weekly in 2007. Like you said, I've never looked back. And one important thing to realize is that even though I felt super uncomfortable in that environment, like I said, everybody else thought I was amazing. Right? So I'm not saying that about me. I'm saying that about everybody watching this right now. You are uncomfortable, but you're freaking awesome, and you're amazing, and you're providing value to people, and that's all they care about, right? Bam! That's all we need.
Yeah, and there is something to be said for throwing yourself off the deep end. I mean, that's certainly what we're doing here with this show. So I think we've learned a ton. We're quickly compiling notes that we can release in a blog post about all of the different things that we learn every single time we go live, both with this show and when the guys do Q&As and things like that. I feel like there's always something we learn about the tool or about ourselves, about all the different things that could go wrong and all the different ways that can go right. But you're right in that it's funny that there's never anyone watching live that is super upset or appalled if something doesn't turn out exactly the way that you plan it in your head. I think it's more in our heads than it actually seems. So totally fair point. So you mentioned this a little bit, but so you started originally with a video podcast. How and why did you get into that? I mean, that's way before I think the podcasting craze became what it is today. How did you get into that? And what sparked your interest there?
I heard Adam Curry. Do you guys know who Adam Curry is from? first MTV VJ in the 80s.
Gotcha.
I actually didn't know who he was at the time, but he was talking on NPR back in 2005 about podcasting, and he was talking about audio podcasting, but then, and I was super intrigued by it. I was like, wow, that's really cool. Like, nobody can tell you not to do something, or you don't have to get the big boys permission to be on CNN or ABC. You can have a worldwide audience and do this stuff yourself. That was super intriguing to me. Even though I had zero desire to be on camera, zero desire to have an audience myself, I just thought that concept was cool. Yeah. And then I heard him talking about it. Apple announced their first video iPod in October, I think it was. December, December 23rd, 2015, I put out my first video to be available on that iPod so that people had something to watch. And the rest is history. I was one of the only ones, so you were forced to watch me.
It's definitely good to be first, where you're like, well, can't compare me against anything.
Right.
So
it was wretched, but it was there.
That's awesome. When did you move into Live Streaming Pros? When did Live Streaming Pros start or launch?
That happened like 10 years after I started all of that. So Live Streaming Pros became a thing when I had a partnership split, and I stopped. I kind of got burned out on doing tech news and reviews. Sure. And, things kind of came to an end, and I was like, what's next? Well, I became aware of the education market online. Like, I had no idea this existed. And David, my now partner, in both life and business, he was like, there's this thing because people kept asking me all the time.
Yeah, how do you do it?
How do you do what you do? And I was like, I just taught them one by one. And I was like, oh, I could do this like on a bigger scale. That's cool. And I'm a teacher at heart. I love people. I love helping. So it was a perfect fit. So we started Live Streaming Pros to really educate people on how to do live video, given our extensive, experience on both a personal, I'm doing it for my own community, but we also did it for Panasonic and AT&T and Samsung and all of these big multi-million-dollar productions. Wow. So I always looked at how can we take these concepts that people take, millions of dollars, and drill that down into a single person production. Yeah. So that's why I started. Yeah. And it's definitely, I think it's super, super important. I think the one thing business owners get asked all the time is how can they bring more video in, but it does feel like something that is really expensive and really difficult to get started. So I think that what you're doing is really, really valuable, and I certainly think that there's a ton of small businesses and entrepreneurs out there who want to be doing better, both with live video and with video in general. How can they do it more cost effectively? How can they do it more efficiently? So huge, and definitely helpful to have resources out there. All right. What is the most common question you get asked about live video, and what is your answer? I think these days, the most common question I get is, how do you get the fancy stuff? It sounds like you dove in, though. You were saying it initially that you got, you were like, okay, what's the camera that does it? Let's do this. Yep. So, we try and set the bar high. We put a lot of production or effort into our productions, and we like to always, push the limits and push the boundaries of what's possible. And so people see that and they're like, I want to look like that, but I don't want to invest all the things, right? Yeah. All the money or the time, and it can be overwhelming. And so I always say start small. I actually had a student in my community bring this up, and he started with Ecamm, and because that's what we recommend people on a Mac, right? We have tested all the things, and on a Mac, Ecamm is the choice. Awesome. And we love it for that purpose because you can do a lot and it's super easy. Yeah. And so he had done this, and he was like, I can do all these things. And so he put all those things into his production, and then all of a sudden he was like, oh, he was live, and he was fumbling all around, right? Because you can do so much. You want the fancy stuff, and but you want to start small. and build yourself up, because you're trying to do all of these things and your brain space is taken up by being live, delivering content, controlling it, all of these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, do the fancy stuff. But take it one step at a time. Let's, what I call, layer complexity. Add one cool thing, then add another, and then add another, and then add another. And you're going to see so much better success and less frustration and less overwhelm with yourself.
Yeah.
And then you can add all the things that Ecamm allows you to do, which is cool.
Yeah, it's definitely, that's good advice. I definitely fell into the category sometimes of like, ooh, I can push all of these buttons. Let's see what happens. Yeah. But then it does certainly get overwhelming really quickly when you're trying to balance out switching back and forth between things, or you think you understand something, but maybe you haven't used it as much. So I think adding it on makes a ton of sense. This is our second Meet the Pros that we are restreaming out to both YouTube and Facebook. So that's been exciting. Nice. But for a while we were like, okay, let's work our way up to this.
Good. Yeah,
just in case something happens.
Yeah. It's like, well, you don't know what to troubleshoot when things go wrong, when you have all the things right up front, right? And so it's just something that we see much more long-term success with if you just kind of layer that complexity.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking down at my questions. What tips do you have for people who want to be more confident on live video but aren't sure where to start?
So confidence comes with just doing it, unfortunately. Like, there is no magic pill.
Practice, yeah.
Yeah. And so, one of the things, I have tons of tips, but in order to focus this a little bit, like, know why you're doing it. First and foremost, the confidence should come from your why. And so what are you trying to accomplish, and what are you trying to help people with? That is your focus. Because I like to talk about it like Gaston from Beauty and the Beast.
You speak my language.
So Gaston is always looking at himself in the mirror. He's focused on himself. He's like, ooh la la, look at me, right? I'm beautiful. But if you are literally going live and you're doing your things and you're unconfident, you're not confident, and you're feeling so nervous or so uncomfortable, it's because, hard truth, you're thinking about yourself, and that's the very wrong place to be. You don't want to be Gaston. You want to be thinking about the person on the other end of that camera. Why are you doing this? What are you trying to accomplish? Let's focus on them and them alone. And then you start to dwindle into the background and you stop thinking about all of the things that you're worried about. When I look in the mirror, I see, when I watch my videos, I see nostrils that are too big. I see a forehead that's too big. I see, well, not gray hairs anymore because I colored my hair. But
problem solved.
But like, a couple of gray hairs in there, and I'm like, oh, I see all of my flaws, and I hear my voice, and I'm thinking, oh, like, I hate my laugh. I think it's the most annoying laugh in the world. But nobody else is hearing that or thinking that or seeing. So there are people on YouTube who have told me I have the most annoying voice in the world.
There are trolls out there, that's for sure.
So, if you realize that when you have, like, I just want you to answer this question. Did you see any of those things about me?
No, I definitely felt those things about myself when I was starting off.
And I think you're beautiful, and I love, the gap in your teeth, and which is probably something you hate about yourself, right?
Every now and then,
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, maybe you grew up with issues around it or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, we all have those things.
Yep.
But I think it's so adorable, and I think it's cute, and I think you're beautiful, and I don't see any flaws with you. I'm not looking at those things because I, as a viewer, am selfish, and I want one thing and one thing alone. I want you to help me with something. I want to accomplish something. So when you change up your mindset around these things, that's when things start to change in terms of your confidence, and knowing that you're delivering value rather than thinking about what's wrong with you. Who cares? Really, who cares?
Yeah, that's totally true. I definitely started feeling a lot better when Ken and Glenn used to tell me that only the moms were watching these Facebook videos. It was like, no big deal. There's only 3 people on. It's just the moms. It's all good. Probably not true, at least hopefully not true, that it's not just the moms, but definitely made me feel better. I was like, that's right. It's probably, really we're getting out there, we're learning how to use the tool more, and we're hopefully helping the community that's now watching. It's always great to see people on.
Exactly. And when you start doing live video, let's just say what it is, a lot of, you're not going to have viewers.
Yeah, no, it's just the moms for a little bit.
It's fantastic. Yeah. A lot of people get really upset about that, and they're like, Luria, no one showed up. It was really disheartening. I get it. It is disheartening. But if you change your mindset and you think, I have time to practice. I have time to get good at this, instead of having that heavy weight of having people watch. It lightens the load a whole lot, and it makes it super awesome that no one's watching yet because you're just figuring it out anyway.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, definitely. I think too, working our way up to it, one of the things I like about Ecamm Live is that you can use the record only, so which definitely makes it way less scary when you're first getting into it. You're like, I'm not going to press that live button yet. It's a little bit scary. But the record only button feels a really safe, a safe space to be. Yeah. And then I kind of worked my way up to just live to my page where I was no one could see it but me, and I can edit it. And then into a group with one friend that could tell me what I was doing wrong, or I could see the comment coming up. So, I think the slow progression of it makes a big difference as well. It doesn't make it less scary. It still feels intimidating when you go live the first few times, but at least there's a slower progression where you understand how the tool works and what may or may not happen and what to see and what to expect, for sure.
Yeah. I talk about the live adrenaline monster because that is what is happening. I named him Lamb. I have a picture of him. We've made him into an actual monster. That's awesome. Because it's so draining. He is literally attacking your brain. When you go live, it's like no other kind of content that you're creating. Podcasts, YouTube videos, nothing compares to live in terms of the brain space and all of the things that you're having to do and the multitasking involved. It's just, there's nothing like it because everything else you can redo. You can edit it. And so live comes with a lot of emotion, a lot of overwhelm, and so you just got to learn to train it and tame that monster. Yeah,
definitely. All right, next question. Moving on to how many videos do you do on a regular basis? Or are you doing them weekly? Or are you doing them every day? How often are you going live?
I go live anywhere from 2 to 6 days a week, and do 1 to 2 recorded videos on top of that. So I'm doing a lot. Uh-oh, what happened?
Uh-oh. Are you still there?
I'm still here. We're all good.
We're all good? Are we still live, Glenn?
Yeah, we are. Well, actually, I don't know. I don't know why I answered that.
Yeah. I think we had a phone call.
Oh,
live video.
Isn't it fun?
All right. I'm on Glenn's computer, so anything can happen, guys. We're keeping it real. All right, sorry to interrupt you. You were saying you're going live anywhere from 2 to 6 times a week. How are you planning out all that content? Is it something that you're looking at a calendar for 6 months out? You're looking at a calendar, a year out? Are you doing things a little bit more ad hoc? How are you planning it all out?
So I'm a planner for sure. I love to plan my content, and I love to batch as much as possible. Now, obviously, you can't batch live, but you can batch the prep of it, right? Yeah. So I actually, because I do so much, I can't really batch a month in advance. But if you were doing 1 a week, you could totally batch a month in advance, right?
Yeah.
And prep all of that. Prep your title, prep your description, prep all the tags, all the things. Just have that ready to go. It makes it so much easier to not make excuses day of. But I prep on a weekly basis. And I think ahead, and sometimes I'll actually batch at least topics for 2 months out.
Yeah, sure.
So that I know what's coming. And if I have something special, we have a full-on tech how-to training,
cool.
how to do all the things tech-wise coming up very soon. And so I'm actually in the middle of batching that topic release, all the way through that release. So it depends on what's happening in my world in terms of how much I batch, but I do prep things in advance. And I really often think, where are people struggling right now?
Yeah.
If I have this tech thing, then most of our content is going to be released or based on tech related stuff, because that's going to build up the audience that is interested in that topic when we do have this tech training come out, right? And so it's going to be something that people are just like anxious to have because they're actually concentrating on that topic already. And so I think about those things in terms of how can I get them results right here, right now? What's one thing, focus on that one thing, and then move on to the next thing, and then move on to the next thing. I don't try and teach them all the things all at once inside of one training, one live show. Now, we do like to showcase different ways of doing live videos, right? So one of our weekly shows is a live Q&A. Oh, cool. And it's a news-related show. Like, so on Fridays, we're doing news, any new tech that we get in the house, and we're like, hey, let's put this on camera. And then Q&As. And so that's a more general, free-form, it has segments, but it's really fun. And so it's not like my other, on Wednesdays, I really focus on one single topic, getting them results. And so we like to showcase the different ways that you can do live video, because there's so many different ways. And so those are two different ways that we do it. And so the Friday show is less planned out, for example, because it's highly Q&A. So it depends on, to answer that question, but there's a lot of prep that goes into it, and a lot of thought process that goes behind it. And I just really like to make sure that I'm creating a purposeful and cohesive content strategy so that nothing feels out of place or awkward. And everybody is getting something out of it. And then one thing is leading to another for their results, to make sure that they're not just like feeling all over the place.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm sure in that Q&A time, you probably get a lot of ideas for future, more in-depth live videos that you'll do. I know every time we see the Q&As come in, we're like, oh, we didn't think about that as a subject or something that we need to dive a little deeper. And a bunch of people are asking the same kinds of questions.
Now, I will say, this is just a tip for anybody who's new to live. Please, or who doesn't have like a large audience already, don't do Q&As right away.
Very good tip,
For the love of God, don't do that. Like, you will save yourself so much frustration and embarrassment, because what happens is you don't yet have that audience to ask or to engage. Like, you have to train them to engage first before they'll start asking questions on an open Q&A. So you can prepare questions ahead of time and do Q&As that way, but don't go live to no audience or to a low engaged audience with an open Q&A. It will be embarrassing.
Yeah, no, totally. Totally great tip. What is your favorite platform to live stream to? I know you go out all over the place and you often do multi-streaming or testing all different kinds of things. Do you have a favorite, or do you just like to keep it fresh and try different stuff?
I think there are beautiful and very frustrating things about each and every platform.
Very true. Very true.
So I don't really have a favorite per se. I like different things about different platforms. So like on Facebook, I love having a really full strategy around my entire marketing plan, because you can effectively use live video on Facebook with ads. And with actually generating a bigger audience. And so there's an entire marketing strategy that you can use on Facebook. So I love that. However, I find it super frustrating how often they're changing things and constantly, like making it a pain in the ass to do. And then YouTube has its own like ecosystem and type of, person that's there. So it makes engagement a little bit easier and more fun. For most people streaming on YouTube. And so but you also have to have an audience there. So, the super chats and the different features there, that exist. Now, Twitch and Mixer, they have the highest engagement, on any platform, because it's built for streaming built management. I love the FTL, the faster than light technology on Mixer, but this audience is not really appropriate for a Mixer or a Twitch streaming. But just know that the features that Twitch and Mixer implement actually are Facebook and YouTube are constantly paying attention to, and they're like, how can we implement what they're doing? So I like to play over there just because it's like, oh, like this is what's going to come to the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I will say if you do want to play over there or do some testing into it, you can use Ecamm Live to go out to Twitch. Just you can just select Twitch. For Mixer, you can go through Restream. So if you have a Restream account, you can get out to Mixer that way. I haven't used it, so I can't speak to it, but definitely something that you can go out. Yeah,
it's just RTMP too, right?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have FTL at that point, but
no, yeah, but certainly something you can play around with, and there's always opportunities to push some buttons there if you want. If you're feeling very brave and you want to give yourself a whirl. How did you first hear about Ecamm Live?
It's always been here, hasn't it?
It's always been here. It's just we've just always been here, guys.
I honestly don't. I mean, as soon as Facebook Live became a thing, that's when we really super targeted in on live video versus video in general. And I remember Ecamm coming out shortly after, I think. I really don't remember. It's just kind of always been there in my head.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. I know, I feel like it was an easy, in some ways, job to walk into because there was just such a dedicated group of fans. I was like, oh, this is great. There's lots of people to talk to and to help spread the word.
Did a fantastic job at just engaging the community and being really open about the progress. Like I love the Facebook group. The entire team now, including you're doing an amazing job at really engaging the community and constantly putting out new features. Yeah. Like that's what I love about Ecamm so much is like you guys are constantly putting this stuff out and delivering on, some of the higher end tech stuff when it comes to streaming without complicating the interface. Yeah. Because, because we do in our studio, I use Ecamm when I'm more remote because I'm on my Mac, but in our studio we have a PC with vMix, and that software is so overwhelming to people walking into it. Not just vMix. I love vMix too, but like any software like that is like
there's a learning curve.
Type of software. There's a major learning curve. Yeah. With Ecamm, you don't have that learning curve. I mean, there's a little bit, but so easy, Yeah,
that's definitely the goal, is to be able to really make sure that it's as powerful as possible without being so complicated that people who are brand new to live streaming should be able to be up and running really quickly. So so super important to the team for sure.
Totally.
You already answered some of my other questions.
I'm sorry.
No, that's right.
I went that direction. I was like, whoops, so well. I'm just going to keep talking.
All good. No, we're going to yell at you for saying nice things about Ecamm Live. That's all good. All right, let's talk features then. Do you have a favorite Ecamm Live feature or a couple different features that you really love to use?
I know it's so super simple, but I love the comment, like the ability to
that's great.
Like it's probably the most asked for feature. Like when I'm helping in groups and answering questions about streaming, like people are always like asking like, how can I get the comments up on screen? Yeah. And so having such an easy way to do it is just awesome. All
right, I'm going to pull one up.
There we go.
So Don wants to know where you got your CMT Adventure Country Fireman doll. These are very important questions.
That's hilarious. So this is, I didn't even realize it was in the background. This was my name back when I was doing the tech news and reviews. I was Callie Lewis. So I did a project with Discovery, and they sent me my own doll.
That is amazing. See? If you didn't get to pull comments on stream, we would not be able to see.
Right?
That's wonderful.
But yeah, like I think the comments thing is just amazing, and the ability to have like the pip. Because the circular pip, like when you guys released the ability to not just have one
square or whatever,
that's just the square. Yeah. Like I loved the circle pip that came out because we were already doing that in some of our productions where we were like really fine tuning it, and so like I was like, yes. That's mine. That was a Luria feature. I just claimed it. It wasn't, I'm sure, but
we should just start naming the features for some of our like original users. We'll call this one the Luria. We can call another one. We can just name them all off. It'd be awesome.
Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. I'm looking at other comments, see if there's anything else I can pull in. All right. Okay, you sort of answered this, but let's just go back to it a little bit in case we missed anything. So what are some of your best tips for people who are just getting started with live broadcasting, or for someone who's looking to improve and kind of take it to the next level?
Yeah. Know what you're trying to accomplish and what your must-haves are and what your nice-to-haves are, right? And start, like I said before, like start slow and build up. Like, you don't have to have all the things right away. Yeah. Even though that's our ego talking, and it definitely does. Like, the more professional your show looks, the more opportunities you actually have, because it adds instant credibility. Yeah. And so it's very helpful. So I get the desire to just like have all the cool things. Mm-hmm. But take it slow and layer on that complexity. And then I will also say this, and I was talking about this with our students this morning, and because he was like, just, he said like, oh my God, like I just was like failing and I didn't know what to do. And think about it like a producer would have. If you ever have gone into a TV station, or if you can look at it behind the scenes video, like they have control panels. Yeah. The more you can set yourself up in that thought process of like, okay, Ecamm has all of these hotkeys, right? Mm-hmm. Use the hotkeys to your advantage. Clicking around on the screen all over the place is like, it'll get you what you want, but it's also a little awkward for you and for the viewer, right? Yeah. And so like, use the hotkeys. Set yourself up with a cheat sheet of what the hotkeys are so that you can learn them. Practice them outside of live so that you commit them to memory. That way you can do things and it's becoming second nature. You don't even have to think about it. That frees your brain up to actually get to be more on target for the content that you're delivering, to engage with people, right? So think about yourself as a producer, but you section off the producer role and the content, the video person role. And so then like set yourself up for that success behind the scenes. Make sure you're using all of the commands and the features that the Ecamm gives you. And then you'll have higher production just innately because it'll become second nature. You'll just be able to click command 1 and have that pop up instead of clicking and finding. Yeah, definitely. And a huge lifesaver here on our end is being able to set up your scenes in advance as well. So we design, Glenn designs these beautiful lower thirds here. You can take credit. We'll give you all the credit. I steal his design and add in names. But we set them all up in advance so that we can go back and forth. And I'm using a Stream Deck here, but we can go to just Luria, I can go back to just me. It makes it really seamless and easy for us to control it from one spot. And certainly what you were saying, just being able to use the hotkeys works almost as well as a Stream Deck, pretty darn close. So if you can memorize that, it goes a really long way. But having the scene set up in advance too, and even putting them in the order of what the content flow is, will make a big difference too. So sometimes I've set them up and then they're like not in the right order, and you're kind of jumping around to the wrong places. Thinking through it ahead of time is 100% key to success here. Yeah, and really thinking through, I guess really starting with the content and then switching over into your producer hat and figuring out exactly what order and how the flow of the show is going to go. Ecamm has all of those built-in functionalities to get you there, but you have to be able to think through exactly how you're going to use them and how the show is going to flow through. So yeah, definitely. And it takes some time to get there, and that's okay too. Like you'll make a mistake because you don't yet know how. Like if you need it to flow until you do it a few times. Yep. So allow yourself permission to have mistakes. And something happened, right? We had a call, and you just gotta go with the flow. You gotta have fun with it. Yep. People don't mind. It's just think about the experience that people are having. Mm-hmm. And if you're freaking out, they're freaking out. They're uncomfortable. If you're having fun and laughing about anything that goes wrong, they're having fun. Yeah. That's all that matters at the end of the day. It is just that they are having fun. They're learning. They're getting something out of it. Yep. And value comes in many different forms. Value comes in education, like many of us do. Yep. But value also comes in entertainment. Yep, absolutely. Right? Like, there's a whole entertainment industry out there making billions of dollars. So think about that and be aware of that. When you just enjoy the experience, they will enjoy it. And that's super, super valuable. Absolutely. Those are great tips. All right, this is the question we ask every single person because this is what everyone wants to know is,
what does your live video studio setup look like? What are some of your favorite gadgets and equipment, and what were some of the original things you had versus what you have now? So.
Oh God, original. Well, yeah, so I started off with a TriCaster. That was my first live video, awesome. Stuff. And I think we were using camcorders that used DV tapes back then. Yeah. So old school. But that was what I started with. Now, so like I said, I have two different setups that we use. And so with my Ecamm setup, I am currently using a Logitech C920, which is all you really need. But I use webcam settings to adjust it key. But then obviously we can add the DSLRs in there and have even higher quality production. I love the Diva lights. I love prismatic lights. So prismatic lights are ring lights, but they change colors.
Oh, fun.
So you can control them with an app, so you can have a little bit of fun and set the mood. David, who does our sets, really loves the mood lighting. So if you actually see my videos on YouTube, you'll actually see a lot of mood involved in it. So we love the lights and just creating different environments. And then, we use a Blackmagic web presenter in our main studio. Sorry, not web presenter, Blackmagic studio camera. In our main studio. We also use an M50. For both Ecamm and our other studio. And let's see, what else do we use? We have so many gadgets, so many different things. We literally have a setup downstairs that has 3 computers tied together that are all running different pieces of the production. And so David is the tech genius. He's always tinkering and creating crazy setups that do awesome things. But so it gets a little complicated down there. Which is why I like the Ecamm stuff. I can run all of this myself, and I don't need, him to do that.
Yeah, exactly. See, start easy and build your way up. Build your way up to more complicated.
David, then,
Find a David, get your studio set up to the next level. No, good. It definitely is nice that you can take it to any level. I definitely have done live streams where I'm just on the webcam, and it actually looks surprisingly good, and it works out pretty nifty. This
anything with the right lighting and a couple of adjustments on your webcam, you're golden.
Yeah, it's amazing how clear it is. And then this, we often use Canons here in the studio, they're awesome. They're crystal clear. Let me see here if I have any other questions. Does anyone have any questions that are watching? Let me see. I can scroll back through.
Oh, don't be shy, guys. Now, come on.
We did ask the best one, so I don't know if we.
Wow. I think there's the confidence.
No? It's automatic cam. Don says thank you for letting him know.
You're very welcome, Don.
Victoria's asking, it's automatic with Ecamm in case you've turned it off. I assume she's talking about the comments, because that's what we're talking about at the time. Comments and reactions.
Oh.
Comments and reactions, yes, you can toggle on and off the little window that shows them to you. But they're there, and you can add them in and take them off. You can resize them. You can change the fonts. You can do almost anything with them.
Your choice.
Yeah, kind of amazing.
Oh, when I figured out that you could do emojis through the text feature, I was like, oh, hell yes. I'm so excited right now. Emojis on screen.
Yeah.
Best. Actually, I should have said that. That's my best feature.
Emojis on screen, huge feature. I still haven't got totally into it yet, but the Streamlabs widget overlays, I feel like, has potential for all kinds of crazy, silly things as well. So there's that. You gotta in some ways enjoy the Snapcam ridiculousness as well. Oh, we have a question from Victoria. One sec. We'll bring it on. All right. What do you think is the biggest reason that holds people back from going live? Especially small businesses, as they can use their smartphones, so no cost. Great question.
It's a great question. The biggest thing that holds people back is fear. You know, it's the unknown. It's this, live is scary. I get it, because you don't know what's going to happen. And that's also the brilliant part of it, right? So when you're being held back, you're thinking about all the things that could go wrong, or you're worried about yourself, like we were talking about earlier. And so the things that could go wrong is scary, because we are trained to present the best perfect version of ourselves that we possibly can, especially in business. And so and if you're in a corporation or a small business that has some hierarchy involved in the decision making, it's scary for somebody who's not in total control of, you know, like, what am I going to say? Am I going to screw something up? Am I going to get in trouble?
Yeah.
Like, there are all of these possibilities. But the thing that you have to remember is that the beauty of live video is that anything can go wrong. And that's not a negative. It sounds like a negative, but it's not a negative, because it allows you to be the best version of you that you are. Just as if you can be who you are with your friends on your live video, that's going to be where you see the success. Being a polished version of you and a perfected version of you on stream is never going to produce the results that you desire. When you let go of what I call this professionality. It's the perfect combo of professionalism and personality. The professionalism all comes in the visuals, the Ecamm stuff, the overlays that you're adding, the visual aspect. That should be the only professional thing that you have in your stream. You as a person and as a personality, the way you act, the way you move your hands, the way you talk, none of that should ever be professional, because that's where you'll lose people faster than that. I was hoping that was going to snap okay. So don't worry about that stuff. And that is what holds people back, is they're afraid of what they can't edit. Yeah. And so just know that that's what you want. You don't want to have to edit. You can produce a really quality show without editing, but then when things do go wrong, those are the best moments. And that is what creates engagement. Everybody wants more engagement on their live streams. Guess what? The more professional you are, the less engagement you're going to get.
Yeah, so interesting.
No. Embrace the flaws, because that's what I call them audience triggers. Like, your audience will tap into something that goes wrong. Like, you fall off your stool. Okay. Great. Love it. Yes. Bring it on. Because your audience will then next time be like, don't fall off your stool.
They remember. Exactly.
They remember, but it's not a bad thing. It's something that connected you as human to them, and then they will be triggered by that in a positive way to engage with you further and deeper in future streams. So I'm sorry, it's a total passion of mine to talk about. Great. So I'm off on a tangent, but that holds people back, and that's what we do about it.
All right, we have more questions coming in. We've triggered people now here.
Awesome.
All right, can you suggest a strategy for establishing your live video brand image before you start broadcasting?
Do you mean, I think she means, I'm going to guess that, I'm sorry, Harry, I'm sorry. I'm going to guess that Harry means that, like the live video brand image, like the visuals, like the assets, because that's what I think of when I see those words. So like, in terms of establishing your assets, the visual stuff that goes on screen, just relate it to your brand. And make sure that you do go through Ecamm and tweak all the things, right? Like the comments, you can tweak the colors and the fonts and all of those things. Make sure you do go through that whole process of all the visuals that you have, like your lower thirds, the title, that like this stuff, right? Your comments. If you can make sure all of it seems and looks as similar as it possibly can in terms of a brand image, you'll look more professional immediately. Now, one thing that you can do, because some of this stuff you actually have to do live, like the comments, I think you can't, if I remember correctly, you can't actually edit the look and feel of that when you're not live, right?
No, I think you can do it at any point.
And
it'll save your presets. So like if I was to mess with it now, which I'm not going to because things will go wrong, but if I was going to mess with it right now, it'll hold that preset. So the next time I log in, it'll keep that same preset until I change it again.
So, but you can just go live and just mess with this stuff with people. They love to see behind the scenes. That's one way to engage your audience from a just personal human perspective while you're setting all of this up and getting it fine-tuned. But the moment you go live, it looks professional. It looks on brand.
Yeah.
And if you have a designer, make sure that they have all of their hands in the pieces of the puzzle here.
Yeah. And consistency goes a long way too. So like once you've decided on something, stick with it and do the same thing every time. So it's recognizable for sure. Awesome. Well, we are nearing our hour mark, which is much longer than we usually go. So I appreciate you taking the time. And thanks for everyone for tuning in and watching. We will be back next Tuesday, so definitely tune in. And thank you so much, Luria, for joining. We will make sure to put your link in the comments. And if there's any other questions that come in, we'll be keeping tabs on them so we can answer them.
Absolutely. Feel free to tag me. I'm happy to continue answering questions. And if there's anything I can do to help you with your live video strategy or your setup or anything like that, let me know. Just tag me in the comments and I'll come running.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thanks for being on. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you next week.